Christopher Foster, a self-made millionaire of 50 years of age, was married to Jill, 49 years of age. At the time of the incident, the couple lived in Maesbrook, Shropshire, UK, and had a daughter of 15 years of age named Kirstie. Many have described Christopher as warm and friendly, but there are others who claimed to know him better that said Christopher was in truth a narcissist, a bully, and a control freak with a volatile temperament. His brother, Andrew Foster, said that Christopher was a child obsessed with fire. Their parents nicknamed him the Little Nero, and according to Andrew, on one occasion, Christopher even set him on fire by accident. Andrew Foster later said that his brother had sexually abused him as a child, and this was the reason he never talked to him again during the last 16 years of his life. His wife, Jill, would avoid being near him when he was in a bad mood. It was reported that he hit his wife on at least one occasion. He would keep guns all over the house and shoot Jill's doves when they got into the garage and left droppings on his cars. On another occasion, he also shot Kirstie's pet Labrador because the dog was unruly and caused problems with the neighbor. It is said Christopher took the dog to the woods and shot the family pet. Many found this action to be excessively cruel and strange. He could have given the dog for adoption or asked the veterinarian to give him a lethal injection. Why he chose to kill the dog in such a brutal fashion only he knew. The path of fortune. In the late 80s, Christopher was working as a salesman, selling mattresses and pizza boxes as a cheap form of insulation, when he saw something on the news that changed his life. On the 6th of July 1988, the Piper Alpha oil rig explosion occurred, claiming the life of 167 workers. For several days, Christopher watched on the news the images of the oil rig being consumed by the fire. The valves with gas had been damaged, releasing huge amounts of gas, making it impossible to extinguish. This prompted him to invent an oil rig sealant that could protect the valves from being destroyed by fire. Several oil companies showed interest in the product, but they would not sign any contract unless they had proof the product worked. The test was expensive, so Christopher mortgaged his house for £5,000 worth of gas to fuel a demonstration. When the fire had burned down, the valves were intact. Christopher had created a product that was a successful valve sealant, and big companies were very interested in acquiring it. This product was called Ulvashield and received a 5-star safety rating. Almost overnight, Christopher Foster became a millionaire, and it is said he was making so much money he did not know what to do with it. The Big Spender. Christopher bought a mansion in Maesbrook, Shropshire, England. Maesbrook is a rural village populated mainly by rich people. The mansion was set on 16 acres of land and had an estimated value of £1.2 million. Christopher spent over £200,000 furnishing the interior of his 3-store home with antiques, and £50,000 landscaping the property. He acquired a fleet of expensive cars such as Porsche, Aston Martin, Jaguar, Mercedes, and Ferrari. He loved to hunt, which he did 4 times a week at a cost of £4,000 a day. He spent hundreds of thousands of pounds on an impressive collection of handmade guns. His daughter Kirstie loved horses, so he also bought horses for her. It was also said that Christopher was believed to have had at least 8 mistresses, which also come at a cost. Holidays, expensive clothing, and Christopher kept squandering until the spending was higher than the profits. The downfall. Christopher's rising was as swift as his downfall. In 2003, Christopher signed a contract with a company called DRC and gave them exclusive rights to produce the oil rig sealant he had invented. In 2004, his net worth was valued at £10 million. Yet, a year later, in 2005, Christopher had already accumulated £2.8 million in debt. Everyone else in his situation would look to cut costs, but Christopher was so addicted to spending that he tried to solve the problem by getting more money from other sources. So despite the exclusivity deal he had signed with DRC, Christopher signed a second contract with another company also to sell his product. DRC sued Christopher and took over his patent. Besides his addiction to spending, Christopher also neglected his obligations as a taxpayer. He did not declare or pay any taxes since he had acquired his fortune, which obviously aggravated his problems. He had a dispute with his accountant but insisted on not paying taxes. As a result, the accountant reported him to the tax revenue for tax evasion. For these and other reasons, in 2007, Christopher's company was forced into compulsory liquidation. His salary was discontinued, and the government put a £3 million freeze on his assets for tax evasion. It is not clear exactly when it started, but it is believed that at some point Christopher started making shady business with dangerous people. A rumor of an £11 million deal with the Russian mafia circulated for a while. This rumor was never confirmed, but something must have happened because all of a sudden Christopher became paranoid. He acted as if he was afraid someone was after him to kill him. He started carrying a handgun in his car, installed CCTV cameras, high electric gates, and ordered the housekeeper to never open the door to strangers. With no longer a company to run, and also because probably he was afraid to run into one of his new enemies, Christopher stayed at home all the time. Although he had employees to do the work, during the last years of his life, Christopher kept himself busy doing all sorts of odd jobs on the property. As a result, the property was perfectly tidy and clean. Oddly enough, despite all his financial problems, Christopher never told anything to his wealthy friends. He kept the facade of a successful businessman until the very end. He kept spending as he always did and bragged constantly about a multi-million-pound contract he was about to sign. With no incoming, and with his assets frozen by the government, Christopher started borrowing money from banks to pay for his luxurious lifestyle. In the end, he had overdrawn from more than 20 different bank accounts. One of them alone had a negative balance of £330,000. The house, remortgaged 3 times, was no longer his, and he owed £1 million in taxes to the government. In March 2008, Christopher spoke on 3 different occasions with his doctor. He said he was depressed and had suicidal thoughts. He started taking antidepressants, but his doctor did not take him seriously regarding his suicidal thoughts. In that same year, he told a business associate he would never let anyone take his home or possessions. Quote, "They're not having my stuff. I will top myself. They will carry me out of the house in a box." Unquote. On another occasion, he said he was going to use a gun to kill himself, and asked his friends to look after his wife and daughter. But once again, his suicidal statements were not taken seriously enough. In August 2008, a week before the incident, the housekeeper found a bailiff's note attached to the gate and brought it to Christopher. The letter stated the creditors would come within a week to repossess all his possessions. The housekeeper said when she showed him the letter, Christopher looked puzzled, but didn't say a word. It was this letter that set in motion the tragedy. Christopher made several online searches on websites dealing with suicide, and spent the afternoon looking through old photos of the family album. The crime. On the national holiday of the 25th of August 2008, the Fosters were invited to a barbecue and clay pigeon shooting. No one of the people present at the gathering suspected that something was wrong with the patriarchy of the Foster family. According to witness, Christopher seemed to be happy as always. This photo of the Foster family was taken on that day, a mere few hours prior to the tragedy. Christopher is seen smiling. He maintained the facade until the very end. Later, he told his wife he had enough. Jill wanted to stay a little longer, but they ended up returning home. At 8:44 p.m., the Foster family arrived at home. Not long after that, Jill was the first to go to bed. At around 11:30 p.m., Christopher told his daughter Kirstie to go to bed. She went to her bedroom, but she kept texting a friend online. At around midnight, Christopher turned the internet off so Kirstie went to sleep. At 3 o'clock in the morning, Christopher claimed his first victim. Using a gun with a silencer, Christopher shot his wife in the back of the head. Then he went into his daughter's bedroom and shot Kirstie, also in the back of her head. At 3:09 a.m., the CCTV cameras of the property caught Christopher walking by the stables. He is seen here carrying a gun, a battery, and a container with flammable liquid. If we analyze the image closely, it's possible to determine that he is carrying the gun with a silencer. At 3:11 a.m., Christopher went to the stable block and shot the horses one by one. At 3:15 a.m., The shadows on the wall revealed that the dogs were still alive. Christopher locked the dogs in the kennel and proceeded to kill them. He killed the animals in the same way he killed his family. He shot them in their heads. Christopher then dragged the dog's carcass to the stables. The crime scene photos showed a trail of blood from the kennels to the stables. At 3:34 a.m., Christopher is seen carrying containers and hoses. He pumped a huge amount of heating oil into the cellar. At 3:46 a.m., Christopher sets the house on fire. Then he poured the inflammable liquid all over his mansion, the stables, and the cars. It was estimated he used 200 gallons of heating oil to burn down everything. To prevent the firefighters from reaching the property and putting out the fire, Christopher blocked the driveway with a horsebox and shot the tires. As the fire grew, it filled the house with smoke. Christopher returned to the house, climbed into the bed next to his dead wife, and eventually died from smoke inhalation. The man who made a fortune out of preventing fires would destroy everything in his life with one. The neighbors called the emergency number. The first crew arrived at 4:29 a.m., but they found the horsebox blocking the entrance. When the firefighters finally managed to enter the property, the flames and the heat were so intense they were unable to come close to the house. It took a crew of 12 firefighters and 3 days to finally extinguish the flames. The investigation. Since Christopher Foster was regarded as a wealthy man, the authorities started an investigation assuming the Foster family had been abducted by criminals. At this point, they had not yet recovered the CCTV footage, so they launched a nationwide search to find them. The forensic team found Christopher and Jill's bodies by accident. A technician was taking pictures near the fireplace when he stepped on something spongy. It was the couple's bodies still intertwined. The corpses had fallen down through the burned floor. The forensic team also recovered the gun next to Christopher. Some have speculated that perhaps he was also planning to shoot himself, but he died of the smoke inhalation before he had the chance to do it. After the bodies were recovered and analyzed, the police suspected Christopher had been the one responsible for the crimes and suspended the search. Then later, when the CCTV footage was recovered, they were able to confirm their suspicions.
We believe that Mr. Foster killed his wife and daughter before setting the fires, which destroyed his home and many of its outbuildings in the early hours of Tuesday. Jill Foster died from a gunshot wound to the head before the fire was started. A cause of death has yet to be established for Mr. Foster, and the body we believe to be Kirstie. A rifle discovered near Mr. and Mrs. Foster's bodies on Friday has been positively identified as belonging to Christopher Foster. We believe Mr. Foster took his own life after setting the house alight.
Unaware of what had happened, on the following day the creditors arrived at the mansion to claim the property, but they found out Christopher had made sure they had nothing left to collect. Since his death, the full extent of Christopher's debts is estimated to be around £4 million. Motivation. Christopher died without leaving a note or ever talking about what was going on in his head. But many have speculated on his dark motives to commit such a brutal crime. The prevailing theory is that he was so ashamed to confess he had lost all his fortune that he chose to kill everyone before admitting his failures. Others have suggested it was instead the ultimate defiant act of a selfish man. He chose to destroy everything before losing it. Aftermath. The Foster family was laid to rest on the 19th of December 2008. The relatives decided to hold separate funerals. The first was for Kirstie and Jill. Christopher Foster's body was put to rest later in a different location. The Family Annihilator. Christopher Foster was included in the infamous group of family annihilators. Although not a significant group statistically speaking, in the UK, for example, they do not represent more than 6% of the violent crimes committed. They are agglomerated into a group because they all follow an identical behavioral pattern. 1. They are usually men slightly educated. 2. They are regarded as respected citizens in society, regarded as being important in a particular group, and/or even considered being a role model to others. 3. They have made a big investment either in their business, relationships, jobs, homes, or children, therefore they have much to lose. 4. The violence is triggered when they understand they are about to lose everything. 5. Usually, but not always, family annihilators commit suicide after having killed their families,